You probably consider yourself a smart person. You read books, perhaps you have a degree hanging on your wall, you understand complex charts, or at the very least, you believe you possess a level of common sense far above the average. But here is an uncomfortable truth that Charlie Munger spent decades rubbing in the world's face. Your intelligence is, more often than not, your own worst enemy. Munger, the architect behind Berkshire Hathaway, observed something fascinating and terrifying throughout his 99 years. The world is full of people with sky-high IQs who live financially and personally mediocre lives. He saw physics geniuses break multi-billion-dollar investment funds and doctors of economics bankrupt solid companies in record time. Why does this happen? Why do people who should know exactly what they are doing make such unbelievably dumb decisions? If you think you are immune to this, I'm sorry to say, but you've already made the first and most dangerous mistake. Intelligence, by itself, is not a shield against stupidity. Often it is merely the fuel that accelerates the disaster. To understand the anatomy of intellectual stupidity, we must first look at what Munger called the man with a hammer. He said that to a man with only a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. The modern educational system was designed to create specialists, people who know more and more about less and less. You were trained to see the world through a single lens. If you are an engineer, you try to solve relationship problems as if they were equations of material stress. If you are an economist, you try to predict human behavior while ignoring basic biology and psychology. Charlie Munger called this a profound mental imbalance. Smart people make dumb decisions because they believe reality should adjust to their specialty rather than the other way around. Intelligence without a variety of mental models is just a blind tool, a powerful engine in a car with no steering wheel. And this leads us to the arrogance of the diploma. There is a toxin that infects those who study too much. The belief that being good at one thing automatically makes you good at everything. Munger saw this constantly on Wall Street and in the upper echelons of corporate power. He saw analysts with expensive MBAs creating mathematical models so sophisticated that they themselves stopped understanding reality. They fall in love with the beauty of their own logic and forget to look out the window to see if the world is still there. The true stupidity of a smart person isn't a lack of knowledge. It's the inability to say three simple words. I don't know. And then the ego that grows from a high IQ creates a blind spot the size of an iceberg. You make catastrophic decisions because your intellect convinced you that you are too smart to be deceived by facts. But reality is indifferent to your resume. It will run you over without mercy if you ignore basic fundamentals in favor of an elegant theory. This process of intellectual self-destruction is amplified by what Munger dubbed the Lollapalooza effect. The human brain is a mess of software flaws that evolved for survival on the savannah, not for capital management in the 21st century. We have confirmation bias, social proof, loss aversion, and the tendency to blindly obey authority. In isolation, each of these biases is dangerous, but when 3 or 4 of them act on you at the same time, your intelligence simply shuts down. It's like a short circuit. This is how a room full of brilliant executives decides unanimously to invest billions in a project that any child could see is doomed to fail. They aren't being rational, they are falling victim to a perfect storm of psychological pressures. Smart people are, in fact, the best at rationalizing the irrational. They use their superior intellectual capacity to manufacture logical reasons to justify their lowest emotional instincts. They don't seek the truth. They seek arguments to protect their prejudices and their comfort zones. This isn't intelligence. It's the advocacy of error. And if we look closer, we see that the engine of this advocacy is often envy. Munger was pitiless when speaking about this. He said that envy is a stupid sin because it's the only one where you don't have even a second of fun. Yet it is the engine of almost every financial bubble. Smart people make dumb decisions because they look to the side and see their neighbor, whom they consider less intelligent, getting rich with some speculative scheme or a trendy cryptocurrency. The thought is immediate and poisonous. If that idiot is making money, I should be making 10 times more. This poison erodes patience and destroys the circle of competence. It makes you take risks you don't understand and enter markets where you have no advantage. Intelligence is useless if you are driven by the need to prove you are superior to others. Success requires a total indifference to what others are doing. But the smart person is usually the one who craves external validation the most. They want to be the smartest person in the room, and that desire is their ruin. The true genius, in Munger's view, is the man who perfectly knows the limits of his own ignorance. Knowing the extent of what you do not know is a superpower that most brilliant people refuse to develop. They hate the too hard basket. They feel they need to have an opinion on everything, from Russian geopolitics to the future of artificial intelligence. Making a decision outside your circle of competence is, by definition, an act of stupidity. It doesn't matter what your IQ is. If you are playing a game whose rules you do not master, you will lose to someone who is less brilliant but knows the terrain. This is why geniuses go bust. They believe their intelligence is a free pass into any market. It isn't. The foundation of all this stupidity is a lack of intellectual honesty. Munger exhaustively repeated that you must never fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. Dumb decisions happen when we ignore contrary evidence because it hurts our preferred narrative. If you really want an investment to work, your brain will filter for only the positive news and ignore the warning signs. You will build logical houses of cards to sustain childish emotional desires. Munger forced himself to destroy his best ideas every year. He said that if you cannot present your opponent's argument better than they can, you simply have no right to an opinion. How many of us have that courage? Most smart people prefer to be wrong in a group than right alone. They seek the comfort of intellectual conformity while marching toward the cliff. So, what is the cure for this chronic stupidity that plagues the most capable? Charlie Munger's answer isn't to read more finance books or try to increase your IQ. The answer is relentless objectivity. It is the discipline of seeing yourself as an external observer, a processing machine that needs constant calibration. It is understanding that your brain is a powerful but flawed tool, and that you need external filters, mental models, checklists, and the technique of inversion to protect yourself from yourself. Instead of trying to be brilliant, focus on simply not being stupid. It might seem like a mediocre goal, but in a world where smart people are constantly self-destructing through decisions based on ego, envy, and a lack of mental models, not being stupid is the greatest competitive advantage you can possess. Intelligence is a multiplier. If you have good values and rationality, it takes you to the top. If you have ego and biases, it only takes you to failure faster and more spectacularly. The world is full of bankrupt geniuses who thought they were too smart for the basics. Don't be one of them. The truth is usually simple and boring, while the lie we tell ourselves is complex and fascinating. Smart people love complexity because it hides their mistakes. But Charlie Munger knew that real profit and a life well lived belong to those who can maintain clarity amidst the chaos. Look at your last big decision. Was it based on cold, naked reality or on your neurotic need to look like the smartest person in the room? The truth hurts for a moment, but the lie will carry a cost you might not be able to pay. This is the path of rationality. Think about it, or keep being just another genius making decisions that a fool would avoid, according to Charlie Munger.